Hey, welcome again. We're back on. We're nearly finishing this letter. There's a little bit to read, and I didn't realize there's another song coming up. So I think I'm going to have to practice and see if I can sing this song maybe tomorrow or the next day. I've got a little bit on. Oh, now tomorrow morning, which will be Monday night American time, I'm going to be interviewed in a podcast on Flash. Well, it won't be live. That's when we're recording it. So I'll start promoting that. It's a podcast on flatten your fear curve. So we'll be recording that tomorrow, and then sometime in July it will go to air. So I'll keep you posted about that. That's with Elizabeth Nader. So I'll get those details to you. Because it's going to be really good. I'm going to be, she's doing a summit where she'll have 20 odd speakers over time, and they'll be sharing about fear, and I'm going to be sharing on the things that I've done to reduce or to cope with fear in my life. And yeah, I've nailed it down to a few very specific strategies that will work for both. They're not just, I mean, all principles that work come from God, but it'll be aimed at a regular audience, not a Christian one. So that might be of interest to some of you. All right, so back to the book. Um, where did we get up to? So we were talking about singing and how I'm not a threat to anyone on Australian Idol or anywhere else, but I will worship my little heart out because there's beautiful healing in that. Okay. Amanda has been transferred to Helena Jones Centre, so I will probably go on Tuesday. We had been told we'd probably go at the same time. That didn't happen. She went, I stayed, and I stayed for, I don't remember exactly how long, but I missed her terribly. And because she was my companion and my Sally, um, and you bond with people when things are traumatic. So you have these strong ties. Jane, a strong black girl, said the others were wondering how I was feeling after my little mate had left. So she came up to me and sort of put her arm around my shoulder and said, so how you going now your little mate's left? I thought that was so sweet. I was touched that they cared, and I said I was happy to spend a bit more time with them. Jane, who happens to be gay, gave me a big hug and a little peck, a little kiss on the top of my head. And it was just sweet. We do that. It's a girl thing. Not It's a girl thing, not a gay thing. And it's just like what we might do at church. And it's nice. So that was the kind of kiss that got me in trouble with someone's girlfriend the other day. But in the reading. But it's nice. So I have developed a great affection for these women. It's hard to imagine why they are in here. Most are drug related. They commit fraud to get money for drugs. They deal drugs to be able to pay for drugs. And some sell their bodies to get drugs. They do break and enters to finance drugs. And they assault people when on drugs. It's their whole world for many of them. A challenge my drug addicted friend faces is what to do when she quits. So much of your day is getting your fix. This is what she told me. The rest of the day is getting money for the next fix. It's hard to know what to do when your whole life and those of your associates revolves around those goals. How does a person keep occupied? They're not strong or reliable enough to work at a real job yet. Can they knit into a church? Well, theoretically, yes. However, leaders have to be vigilant as the recovering drug addict needs supervision. They need people to friend them and supervise them and call them on their BS when they try it out, because they're very clever like that, because they've learned to be very cunning. Temptation is great even after they are clean. Most of those on the methadone program still shoot up heroin. That surprised me. I'm told they must shoot more to be able to feel it. It's certainly not my area of expertise. Most of them started by trying to find something that would give them a lift out of their sadness and anger, which is usually rooted in abuse. So they do this to get some sort of escape, and that's why it's just so important to keep a hold of your mental health, and not allow yourself to follow those paths of thoughts that are negative, because that's how you start hardwiring in depression and anxiety and all of that stuff. And it's it's hard to break. So, and especially when they've been abused, so they feel crappy, and spiritually the stuff that goes on there that keeps them feeling oppressed. Um, and often they're angry and they hang out with people who accept them because they feel rejected and horrible, and often the people that they hang around with have similar issues, and so they end up feeling just that anger from not having their feelings processed and healed, that anger on the inside, that it'll find an outlet, find some relief, and it can turn into self-loathing. I'm not a psychologist, of course, but my goodness, you can see how these things spiral, and they're looking for love. Everybody wants to feel love and acceptance, and if they're only going to find it with people who are not good to be around, then it's a terrible place. It's a terrible direction to go in. And that's why our churches are so important, and especially to target young people, to get them, to give them a hope and an alternative, to keep them off that stuff and actually building a life that matters. I was writing and thinking, if so many women have been abused as children, so many, they say it's 1 in 4, but that's just what we think we know of. There must be many more pedophiles than we think. Are they really such a small minority? And if not a pedophile, then it was usually a predatory teenager. Unfortunately, it's the and actually this is something I learned from my parents, who are pastors, who did classes on this stuff because they have to as pastors, and they said that the greatest danger to a child is actually a young teenage boy, like say, I know, well, probably 10 to 14, or 13, 14, 15, just and in that age bracket where they're still stupid, but they'll try things. And a 6-year-old girl, what's she going to say to resist? It's just, I know it's horrible to even think about, but that's from among the demographics. And you've got addictions to pornography and people wanting to try things out. Our kids are so vulnerable. They're just so vulnerable, and we're so busy. I've been accused of being a helicopter mum. I'm not a helicopter mum. I'm a conscientious parent, and and even then, I still couldn't supervise everything. So it's tricky. It's hard. It's hard. Hey, Ismail, good to see you again. Hmm. All right. So, one 40-year-old woman told me she was only 12 when her 15-year-old cousin bullied her into having sex with him. I think technically you'd call that rape. He threatened to tell everyone they'd done it anyway. Who talks like that? What 15-year-old says, I'm going to tell everyone we had sex, so you might as well do it anyway? Then, as she became a teenager in her small town, date rape was the normal culture of the youth. I know the town. There's a vibrant Christian outreach centre church there, thank God. The town was Ipswich. I didn't name it in the book, but she's from Ipswich. And she said in her circle, it was just normal. I think there was an Australian movie that came out in the 70s or 80s, and Deborah Lee Furness was in it. She was quite young, where the culture was, oh, you know, boys will be boys kind of thing, and they actually would regularly take advantage of the young girls, and nobody did anything about it. It's just ha ha ha, you know, what we do. I haven't watched the movie. I've only seen the trailer of it. I don't think I could bring myself to watch it. What is really going on in your town? Who can a 12-year-old go to? Who will tell her that the local boys are not entitled to use her? And how would she stop them? Who will tell the boys? We tell girls to cover up and be safe and not watch, but who will tell the boys this is not on? This is unacceptable behaviour. This is criminal behaviour. This is defective behaviour. Because it's not a girl's responsibility to stop it happening. Who will tell the boys? What are the parents teaching their kids about morals, or are they too busy both working to have those conversations? You've got to make the time, working or not, you have to make the time to have these conversations regularly, because you can't just have a one-off and go, right, tick, we're good now. You just got to constantly be reinforcing these things, and not fear-based, not making girls feel bad because they're pretty or they've got big boobs. It's not their fault. Unfortunately, they do have to be careful, but it's not just that one-sidedness. The number of times I've seen and heard it preached, unfortunately, about, here's another thing, girls do not cause boys to stumble. Jesus said, if your eye causes you to stumble, your eye, you control where your eye goes. You are responsible for your lust, not someone who's just walking along, because two girls can wear exactly the same outfit, and one girl who happens to be voluptuous wears it and it looks so different on her than someone who's a skinny little rake. It's just not fair. It's not right. So anyway, there's my rant. I've seen it. Okay, so where are we? This is getting a bit serious, isn't it? Well, you know, it's prison and this is the stuff that goes on. Don't feel guilty about both working full time, but it just means you have to be extra vigilant, and don't be lazy because you are home and they're there all the time and you think that it's fine because they're in the next room with the door shut and you think, well, I'm here with them. You're not. You might as well be at a job working full time. You've got to make the time to have the conversations, and it's not always at convenient times. So, yeah, not one style of parenting is better than another. Okay, I've done both. I've done the working and I've done the being at home, and it's hard both ways. We must continue to fight the subcultures destroying our children right under our noses. There are other women here for less dramatic reasons. They've done any one of the many things. They've done any one of the many things we might have done and not got caught for. So, for example, sometimes they accumulate too many demerit points and got booked one too many times. Yep. Perhaps they had a car accident and someone was hurt. That same accident, the same misjudgment without a person getting hurt, would have resulted in no jail time. You take your eyes off the road and you adjust the radio, or you go on your phone, or you do something. How many times have you changed a radio station, fiddled while driving and drifted across the line, and then you suddenly pulled back and relieved that no one, oh, that was close, no one was there? Well, it can happen to anyone, and in an instant. You didn't mean for it to happen. Someone gets injured or killed, you'll go to jail. Lives are wrecked. You just will. Some women drove when their registration had run out. They couldn't pay the registration but still had transport needs. That's a genuinely tough one that's out there. How does a person with a suspended license get her children to school or apply for a job? What if she doesn't live near public transport, which is a big issue in Queensland where I live? In many areas, you need a car to get to public transport. So they've got public transport for people who don't have a car, but you need a car to get to it. These are not lawless, rebellious teens. Perhaps the answer is to restrict their driving to the school run and the job search. Not everyone's given permission to drive to work. I guess some men are given exceptions so they can drive to work, but children are not usually considered in those sort of circumstances. One young woman was banned from driving for 10 years. 10 years. That was 5 years ago. She's missed out on jobs and is reluctant to start a family until she's free to drive. She'll be 34 by then. That's enough seriousness. This morning I was summoned to the health centre. I don't know why. When I got there, the receptionist looked for my name on a list. There I am. I spotted it. Alas, I also spotted the title of the list, Mental Health. My blood ran cold. I've done it now, I thought. Someone has told on me for praying and now they think I'm crazy. I tried to be calm and act normal as visions from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Francis tormented me. Fortunately, the appointment was just to check to see how I was coping. Apparently, another box needed ticking. What a relief. I think that was the only time I saw someone about whether I was coping, and that was fairly early on. So, yeah, we'll see. What do they say? I don't suffer mental illness. I enjoy it. Well, anyway, we'll leave it there and tomorrow we'll pick it up again. Okay, bless you heaps, and I will see you then. Cheers.